Good morning. My name is John Schultz. I'm the chef owner of the Lake Elmo Inn. Today we're going to show you how to cook pasta. A little bit about pasta. There's a lot of them. And isn't it amazing, the Italian language being so romantic, so easy for them to speak, so difficult for us. And you just ooh and ah when an Italian waiter tells you, or Italian chef tells you all the specials. Let me tell you about pasta a little bit from an American. It's all exactly the same thing. They're made the same exact way. It's just a different cut, a different length, a different spiral. Here you got fettuccine, which is flat. Here you got linguine, which is flat and thinner than that. And here you got spaghetti, which is round. All exactly the same pasta, a different cut. And yet, I believe they give you a different taste sensation when you eat them. I don't like red sauce in fettuccine. I love Alfredo sauce in that fettuccine, and I love olive oil in fettuccine. Linguine, I can eat it pretty much anyway. Same with spaghetti. Actually, spaghetti and Alfredo sauce is not my favorite thing either. Then you get to rotini, which is just a little spiral. Holds the sauce really well, great for salads. Rigatoni, bucket of rigs. Penne and mostaccioli. What's the difference, you might ask? They're almost identical. One is ribbed and one is plain. And that's the only difference between those two wonderful names. So anyway, we're going to cook this today. And there's some wise tales. There's some things that I'm going to show you that might help. But there's a basic principle. One is 4 quarts of water to a pound of pasta. That is the proper amount of water. 4 quarts should be the minimum, not the maximum. Today we're going to cook in about just over a gallon of water, and I'm going to do 1 pound of pasta. And with that, I'm going to start right now. So I'm going to put this linguine into the water that I have right here going. And in your water, you want to flavor the water with about a tablespoon for the pound of pasta that you're doing. And that is going to flavor the pasta. That's going to flavor the pasta with a little bit of salt. Now, for all you guys that are worried about too much salt, the water is going to have the salt. The pasta is going to absorb some of it, but it's not. You're not going to eat a tablespoon of pasta or a tablespoon of salt with your pasta. It's just going to get the flavoring from it. So the water is boiling. Would you like to see? Then you're going to put your pasta in, fan it out. A lot of times people will put pasta in a kettle and let it sit, and then it all clumps together. So when you put it in the boiling water, you want to stir it up so that it doesn't stick together. Now, one of those fables and wise tales is that people will tell you that you should put olive oil in your water when you put the pasta in. You know where that water goes, or where that oil goes when you take the pasta out? It goes down the drain when you put it in the colander. It doesn't help at all, in my opinion. There's people that will tell you differently. But I believe it's a waste of money, because when that pasta comes out and we put it in the dish, we're going to put olive oil on it again for flavor, to keep it loose so that it doesn't all stick together. So this pasta is cooking, and it's going to take anywhere from 8 to 9 minutes to cook, maybe 10. And I'll show you some of the things that you need to look for to see that the pasta is done. So while that's cooking, the things that you need to cook pasta at home: you're going to need a colander. This one, a traditional strainer or colander, and you have that ready to go in the sink. You're going to need some olive oil or a lubricant after the pasta is cooked. Not everyone uses olive oil. Some will use butter. Buttered noodles was my kid's favorite. But olive oil, and especially true extra virgin olive oil, is what I'm going to use today. This is a high-end finishing olive oil. It's not one that's meant to be cooked with. This one is a blend of olive oil and oil so that it can handle higher heats. You can saute and still get that nice flavor. And then you have the pasta, which is cooking here. Having the right kettle, very, very important. If you try to put 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound kettle, it ain't going to work. Here you put pasta in a small kettle, and when it boils, that starch is released from the pasta and it starts to foam and boil up, which you can see if you take a look in the kettle here. You can see a little bit of it, but because my kettle is so tall, it's not going to boil over. Many times that'll boil over and it'll put their flame out, or it will go all over your stove, and you don't want that to happen. So we're getting real close to our time. And what we want to look for is my strings are all apart. If you put that too much pasta in one kettle, there's a lot of times where it'll clump together and you get one great big solid mass of dough, and we don't want that. So we're going to take one and we're going to eat it. I bite it in half, and then right in the middle, you're going to be able to see, and my camera unfortunately is not going to pick it up, a hard white dough, and that means it's not done yet. The other way is just taking a bite, and does it have a little bite to it? And if it does, if you like it that way, that's great. If you like it really mushy, my mom would overcook pasta all the time. I hated it, but it was my mom. What are you going to do? So I cook it the way I want it done and the way I like it. I like it to have a little bite. It's called al dente, but I don't want to cook it to where it's hard. And then many years ago, my aunt, my mom's sister Dotsie, she told me of a way to test to see if the pasta is done. And you're going to think this is crazy, and because I did, I have to be honest with you. You take it and you throw it on the wall. If it sticks, it's generally done. If it's still hard, it's going to bounce off and fall down. And in my cooking school, they asked the question of how do you tell if pasta done, and no one was raising their hand. And I raised my hand and I said, throw it up against the wall. And the teacher goes, you're absolutely right. Go figure, right? But that's one of those little wise tales, and I believe that it does work. So I'm going to try it one more time, and I believe that it's done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rag, because this kettle is hot, and I'm going to pour it in my colander. You can put it back in that kettle. Now here's a controversy for some people. Some people like to rinse that and get all that starchy water off of there. They say if you rinse that off, the pasta won't absorb the sauce as much. So what we're going to do today is we're going to put the pasta in a kettle, and then we're going to put our olive oil on it. And again, I'm not going to put a whole bunch. I just want to put enough to lubricate it. And then I'm going to toss it. Now, if I was about to eat this, I would season it with salt, I'd season it with pepper, some Parmesan, whatever flavors, basil, whatever you want to do with it. But this is how you cook pasta. It's nice, it's light, it's beautiful. That's your insider tip for today. Thank you very much for listening.